Hi, everyone. As many of you know by now, I like cars, vehicles in general. When I get into discussions with people about vehicles, people will say, well, what's your favorite car? And I would say the car that we loved the most in the history of our family was that '69 Chevy Nova. It wasn't much to look at. It would not have won races at the drag strip, but it was just a fine car. It did what it was supposed to do. It did very well with very little trouble. As long as we maintained it, it took care of us just the same. The thing is, though, when you like something, sometimes it's hard to narrow down favorites because you like so much of so many different things. Like, my wife likes different breeds of dogs and cats. Can't really narrow it down to just one. And I'm the same way with vehicles. As much as I love that Chevy Nova and I miss it, it's gone to the grand garage in the sky, would have been 52 years old this year. There are other vehicles that I like. I like vehicles that are domestic and foreign. The older American cars are my favorites. But I also like Volkswagens. I'm talking about the vintage air-cooled Volkswagens with the engines in the rear. I think who first turned me on to Volkswagens were, believe it or not, Gordon and Susan on Sesame Street. I mean, they were already the hippest people on Sesame Street. And then they topped it off by getting around in a Texas yellow Volkswagen Super Beetle. And I thought, wow, that's the perfect car for people on Sesame Street to own because Sesame Street is a child-oriented show, and a Volkswagen, the vintage air-cooled Volkswagens with the engines in the rear, are already like big toys that a kid would play with. It's like the toys that grew up and became real vehicles. And it just seemed most fitting that they would drive around in the Volkswagen Beetle. I had a Beetle myself. I had a '68. When I first moved out to the Southwest, I got it for about $1,500. And it lasted me a good year to a year and a half before I got my pickup. I used my pickup for my business. I worked as a courier driver and I made all kinds of deliveries and pickups. But anyway, my '68 Beetle was about the color of a lobster after you cook it, sort of that reddish orange. And even though VWs have this reputation for being easy to work on, I found that little car a pain to work on because it was like a mutt. It was a '68, but it had the seats from a '65 to '67 Beetle, and the wheels were from a '74 Beetle, and the air cleaner was from a '73 Beetle. So it was kind of hard for me to figure out what I had or what I didn't have. And if I had to go for parts, I would have to really research what I had before I can go in and say, hey, I need a part for this Volkswagen Bug out here. And then the parts person would have to not only know Volkswagens, but figure out, oh, no, you need this part or that part or whatever it was. But I would love to have owned a Type 3 Volkswagen. In particular, one from 1972 or 1973. That was the end of the production run for the Type 3 model Volkswagens. Now, the Volkswagen Type 3 comprised three models. There was the fastback, the notchback, and the squareback. And what was great about them was that they retained all of the charm of the Beetle or the microbus later on, but they were more refined. So they were better cars to drive. Even though they were just as much fun to drive, they handled better, they rode better, and they were more efficient in design of space usage. I think of the three models, what I would have wanted to own most of all would have been the Squareback because of the utility. Our Toyota that we own is a Toyota Matrix, so it's like a miniature station wagon, and we like the utility of a wagon because you can just open up the entire back of the vehicle and pack stuff in it as needed. I would have loved to own a Squareback for the same reason, just for the utility of being able to open up the entire back of the vehicle and put stuff in it. Here's an interesting fact about the Type 3 Volkswagens. Around 1966, just before he appeared in the movie The Graduate, Dustin Hoffman starred in a commercial for a Type 3 Volkswagen. I believe it was for the Fastback, if I'm not mistaken. And another interesting fact about that is that Burt Ward, who many of us remember as Robin on Batman, had the role in The Graduate that Dustin Hoffman was eventually given. Greenway Productions would not allow Burt Ward out of his contract because the Boy Wonder was too wholesome a character. And just to see him go and, you know, be in a movie like The Graduate, it would have ruined Batman as they saw it. But that's all I have to say about that. I like Type 3 Volkswagens. And maybe if you check them out, if you like vehicles, you might like them too. All right? Okay, be good, everybody. We'll see you soon.